with the food, there is no hard work. There is no discipline. Like, and I don't say that to get a pat on the back. For me, in my mind, the way I got to look at it is that I'm surrendering to the fact that the food is just gonna fuck me every time. The food is going to ruin my life, and I got to give that up. And I surrender to it and all that. I will say with the gym though, that is a discipline thing that I love. Like it frames my day, dude. I was so worried that I was gonna be late to this thing we're doing because I got stuck in Lancaster and I had to get down here, and I was like, well, I got to do the gym before this. Like, I got to get it working, and call it obsession, call it whatever. But if it gets my energy out, man, I got to be run down like a dog every day because a guy like me who did massive amounts of drugs, ate himself to almost dying, right? Like, there's something going on here. There's something that needs to get drained out. There's an energy in me that's like, we got to get this out of you some way. So, some people, like, they might, like, get really into their work or like really into, a hobby, whatever. I got really into the gym, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and yeah. Yeah, so that is a discipline for sure. And no, I never did a surgery for weight loss. I don't take any drugs. I drink a lot of caffeine, but that's all I do.
Ian Scotto here with you, hosting this installment of Battle Line Podcast. That's right, Chris is out this episode, but do not go anywhere. We've got a great interview for you this show, and it's only natural that Bubs Naturals, I didn't even really realize I was doing that, but it's only natural that they are a sponsor of this episode because we talk plenty of fitness and health and nutrition. And the great thing about good dietary supplements is that it's supplementing your nutrition with things that you're not getting in your diet. And one of those things is collagen. So when I take Bubs Naturals collagen protein, I know I'm getting the best collagen for my body because it's grass-fed, it's single-sourced, and you're just not getting collagen as a part of your diet. Now, what's collagen good for? For your hair, your skin, your nails, also for muscle recovery, and it's just such an important supplement to take. So check out Bubs Naturals. Also, I love their hydration packets, Hydrate or Die, their MCT oil powder, apple cider vinegar gummies with the mother, which is great for appetite control. All things I would highly recommend, and because they've been with us for so long, they hook up all of our listeners with 20% off your first purchase when you go to bubsnaturals.com and you use the promo code BATTLELINE. You're also helping out the Glenn Doherty Memorial Foundation, and Glenn Doherty is someone that we revere highly on this podcast, one of the fallen heroes in Benghazi. And with the Glenn Doherty Memorial Foundation, they're giving back to families of veterans with scholarships and other great programs. So check it out once again, bubsnaturals.com. Use the promo code BATTLELINE for 20% off your first order. With that, let's get right over to my interview with a good friend, Chris Stanley.
From Kansas City to New York City, from planet Earth to extraterrestrial life in space, a podcast with no equal, engaged in unconventional warfare through your speakers and headphones. This is a show about embracing the suck, conquering your demons, and finding God in the face of adversity. Chris Tonto Peranto.
Switch is on. Motherfucker, I'm gonna shoot you in the face.
Ian Scotto.
Ian and I have been dating for a long time.
You are now tuned into the Battle Line Podcast.
The switch is on. Battle Line Podcast. I have a very special guest on me who, it's crazy to say, I go back like 20 plus years with, Chris Stanley. And before we even go into like your actual story, it's interesting because I said this before we recorded when you were talking with me. On this show, we definitely tend to go outside the wheelhouse. And although we have like special operations military veterans and we have people in the firearms community.
That's me. That's me. Special operations military veteran, first responder. Yeah, no, that's me.
I like to interview people though that I think are inspirational, that have a story to tell, that I do think are going to get people motivated. And truly, I think it's you, because as someone who knew you over 20 years ago, and we'll get into it, but like you were the antithesis of being like a motivational, inspirational guy.
Yeah.
You were like the polar opposite of the current Chris Stanley.
Yes. No. I before I hopped on, I was thinking about like the last couple times that you and I hung out before talking, really like before like reconnecting. And one of them, like right off the bat, it was that Dimebag Darrell like tribute party where it was just like I was just smoking crack.
Wait, was I? I wasn't at that.
Yes, you were. Yes,
no, because unless something else, I know. I remember the last time I saw you.
When was the last time you saw me? By the way, you were definitely there because I remember you being there while I was smoking crack. But
a Dimebag Darrell tribute party.
Yeah, it was like I think it was like a couple weeks after he had got shot, and we were supposed.
But it wasn't like an official party.
No.
Yes, I do remember this. We watched Pantera videos at your house. I'll be honest, I probably saw you smoking something, and truly not being a drug guy, I don't think I thought anything of it. I was like, oh, they're smoking weed or something.
Yeah, no, it was just funny to think about, like you said, the total antithesis, and like it is very crazy how like where my life is now versus where it was the last time that I remember. I know it wasn't the last time we hung out, but one of the last times, like, we hung out.
We didn't hang out, but the last time I saw you and just said what's up and all that, and it's a long time ago. I mean, you look completely different. Was the Riddlebox anniversary tour in New Jersey?
Oh, that was my birthday.
Yes, and you came in like a limo or something?
No. We had a party bus.
That's right. Okay.
That was awesome.
That's the last time I saw you, and that was probably 7-8 years ago, I think.
Easily, because that was right before I moved to California, and this month is actually going to be 7 years that I've been here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all of it, but for people who have no idea your background, which truly is, that's the audience. You're not a public figure. You're not a influencer. For people who just want to know who you are, I mean, because we'll get into kind of the weight loss stuff and the fitness stuff, but however you want to start it, for people who don't know who you are, just describe it.
I'm a guy. I don't even know how to do that other than just say like I'm a guy who I'm an insurance adjuster who lives in California. Used to live in New Jersey. When I was in New Jersey and in California, I did a lot of dumb shit. And then 5 years ago in October, I got sober from like drugs and alcohol, and then realized I had a not surprising to anyone else, but I had like a food addiction as well. Treated food like a drug, and I just got sober, and I got my shit together with food and all that by working 12-step programs, and I went from living on a couch to living in a house. So that's. I think that's
married, right? And
I'm married. Yeah, I'm married. I got 4 dogs. I have a car that's under my name and not some ex-girlfriend from New York. It's crazy, living a fucking crazy life. Yeah, we just got married 5 months and a couple days ago.
Yeah, congrats, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so I'm thinking back of just what I've seen of you on social media and just keeping up, texting here and there. I feel like, unless I have it wrong, you were getting like healthy before then, right? Because you're saying 5 years ago, you started working out then before getting sober, right?
I tried working out a lot. Yeah. I tried working out a lot. I started going to the gym in like like 2011, like a long time ago. And but like I would and for anyone wondering, I used to weigh 550 pounds. So like I would go from like 550 to 350 all the time, like every other year. Like
550 to 350.
yeah, yeah. Like
Wow.
I did that 4 times in my 20s.
I don't even remember that because I just remember you
Oh yeah.
always being, I mean, you were a massive guy,
Yeah.
like truthfully. So I don't even remember you losing 200 pounds.
I will send you pictures and like
You have to
can
send us
kind
all of this because we're going to put all of this in the video.
yeah, yeah, like you can see it like there's one of my favorite pictures and I'll point this out in the email when I send it so you can put it up or however the hell you do it.
Yeah.
But it's a picture of me at I think it's the '08 gathering and I was in the cabin and dude like I'm just on a couch and like you really don't know where my head and my legs begin. It's just fat. It's just fat and skin. It's insane. But then there's other pictures, like a couple years later, where like I'm still big, like there's no question, but like smaller,
Yeah.
nowhere near what I'm at now. But yeah, it like went back and forth. It went back and forth a lot. But yeah, I got into the gym when I was in like 2011. I would say I tried losing weight, and it just never like I could never stick with it. I could never do it. It was always like I would go to the gym all the time, but I would just binge eat like a motherfucker.
See, here's what I remember. I remember there was some point where you were on Facebook and you like in concrete were like, I am turning my life around. And I remember it started with videos of you just walking up and down a staircase, and that was
Yeah.
the workout.
Yeah,
And from
yeah,
what I
yeah.
remember, I saw it just slowly progress from there.
So okay, so you're not wrong. That is true, and that was in I remember that specifically. That was in 2016, and embarrassingly enough, that was precipitated by me getting dumped by a girl I thought I was gonna marry. Like that's what it was. I was like, ah, shit, I gotta get my life together. And I had like gotten like a pretty good job, which I still have now. I had lost it in my anyway.
Yeah, we'll get into all that. Yeah, for sure.
those
Yeah.
those stair videos for sure. That's how it started, and then it progressed. It progressed into like working out more, working out more. But the food never really got better, if that makes any sense. Like the food, like I would work out and all that, but like the food, like I just sent you a picture of what I just ate before, right?
Yeah.
Like the food, it never looked like that. It never looked like that. But I was working out all the time. I was always working out in some way.
But
And
I
then
feel like you were making slow progress. I mean, it can never be quick from where you were. And I just saw like a guy determined to turn his life around at that point. And I feel like slowly but surely in the months, it was like, holy shit, this is looking like a totally new guy, even if your food wasn't on point.
so when I say that, I mean like there was a huge around the time of those stair walking videos, there was a big like in that time frame. I moved to California and I was dropping weight a little bit. Like you said, where I was get like happening fast, it really wasn't there. But in that, and I don't know if I'm like jumping ahead of anything,
No,
but
it's
when I
fine.
moved to
Yeah.
California, I was here for like 2 years ish where I was like I was working on like TV shows, not as a actor, but like PA shit, And I was doing like Lyft and Uber and all that. And dude, it sucked. I was very depressed, very sad guy. But I was like trying to like get my shit together. And then I was binge eating, still going to the gym, binge eating, going to the gym. And then when I got sober in 2019, and I started dealing with like you going like 12-step programs, dude, I dropped a massive amount of weight in 2020 during the pandemic. And that was from like working this around like a 12-step way, like working my food problem around like a 12-step program. And that was when I dropped, dude. I dropped like I dropped over 160 170 pounds in like a year.
Yeah, and like to this day, putting on muscle and all that. So
Yeah.
I think it probably does make sense to go back because here's the thing. I always felt like I knew a big portion of your story, but it actually wasn't until you did an interview with our mutual friend Jeremy Germ that I was like, holy shit, I really didn't know half of what Chris was going through. So Yeah, I remember I actually reached out to have you on, and it just didn't work out for some reason. And then I reached out again, but I do remember the interview that you did, and it was incredible. So I think if we just start from maybe you just growing up as a adopted kid in New Jersey, I think it would be cool to just start from the origin story.
Absolutely. I was an adopted kid from New Jersey. I just met my real dad, by the way.
I
It's
didn't
like
know that. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, dude. This is it's a sidebar, but in when I moved to California, I did a 23andMe, just wondering what I was, just like wondering. Like I knew I was adopted, but I never really gave a shit about finding my parents. But I was curious. I was like, I wonder what I am. And then, dude, a year later, I remember I was in Nickelodeon Studios, and I got a message from a woman, and she was like, "Hey, it has us listed on here as a brother and sister, but I'm not your sister. Like, I'm your aunt. I know who your father is if you want to, reach out." And I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah!" And I reached out to him, and we'd been talking for like the last like 4 or 5 years, and not last year, but the year before, he was in Thailand, so I flew out to Thailand and I got to meet him.
You're probably glad that you got to meet him as you today, right? As opposed to you 10
Oh,
years.
dude, oh god, it would have. Well, number one, I would not have been able to fit into a seat going to Thailand.
And you're being serious. Yeah, it's not
I'm
even like an
being dead serious.
exaggeration. Yeah.
It's not even funny. I would not have been able, dude. I wouldn't have been able to fucking deal with like going to a different country, at over 500 pounds. But yeah, I was adopted when I was like born practically. Like I was like born, and then like 6 weeks later I got adopted. And yeah, man, life wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. It was like lower middle class. I didn't grow up in the slums. You were at my house. It wasn't great, but I wasn't like in the fucking ghetto. Yeah, man, I was a fat kid, so I got bullied and it sucked. And then I found music, I found Insane Clown Posse, how you and I know each other.
Yeah.
And dude, to be honest, it was so long ago that I did that interview with Jeremy. Not that, but I don't even fucking remember what we talked about on that one. So if there's anything specific I'm like just brushing over, you let me know. But yeah, man, if you had looked at me on paper, you probably would have thought I was going to be a fuck up. Drug addict, really young. Like morbidly obese from like day one. I was never like a slim person or a healthy body weighted person, just fat as shit, and a drug addict. Crack, coke, all that.
Which I didn't even know. Like I said, I didn't even know about all that. Even if I saw you in person smoke crack as a non-drug person who has done very little of any of that, I probably didn't think twice of it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like there were like stints where it would like go like in between, because at first, I think it started like getting addiction, like it was like fun, and then it, grew and grew, and then coke really got fucking rough. But I was still, doing coke and like eating like a fucking banshee, so I was like just a fat cokehead, which is, it's surprisingly not hard to do, pretty easy. And then yeah, man, dude, 2006, my mom died. That sucked. I was like 17, and then I just started like working like shit jobs all the time, but still, doing drugs, fucking partying. It was fun. It was a good time. And then I got into poetry. I started doing like poetry slam stuff, and like that got me to like kind of like go around the country. Like I went to like a few different spots. Like that's how I got into like being interested in coming to California. Because I did a poetry like competition in Oakland, and when I came out to Cali, I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. And then dude, fucking after that, I got into comedy a little bit.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I started doing comedy, and I wanted to, dude. It was a coked out, like just insane, egotistical driven idea of like, I'm gonna go to LA. I'm just gonna drop everything I'm doing. I'm gonna go to Los Angeles and become an actor and a comedian, with very little experience in either of those. Just very little experience. I was like, I'm gonna go.
But it probably was good to actually have some of that ego to motivate you, because growing up, from what I hear and just from even knowing you, you probably had no ego at all. You were just like, I'm this out of shape person who's not going to amount to anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like in poetry, I didn't have success, but like I was like, oh, I can write a little bit, and I got people giving me pats on the back. I was like, oh, I could do that, and I developed this. I don't know. I guess I developed like kind of like some confidence, for sure, but also like just an inflated amount of confidence that was just unearned. But you're right. All that definitely gave me the push to just jump and like leave. And dude, leaving New Jersey was the best decision of my life. Like there was no better decision I ever made. It did not turn out any way that I thought. I never thought I would be living like I live in like Rancho Cucamonga. I do insurance, and I'm married. Not what I thought. Not what I was like when I was picturing LA. I'm like, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna be rich and famous. Just gonna do blow and fuck ladies all day, and that's all I'm gonna do. And that's not what happened, and that's not what I do in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And there was like a huge idea of like I'm gonna go out to LA, I'm gonna whatever, and then I worked on a weed farm for like a month, and that was the most.
We have a mutual friend who does that.
Huh?
We have a mutual friend, or I should say, guy that we both know who does that.
Oh, God. Oh, okay. Because
Alex, right? Al Dub.
Yes. So that is true. I was not with him. I would have loved to be with him. My experience probably would have been better if I was with him. But my experience was really bad. It was very scary. It was not what I thought it was going to be. And dude, being at that time I was like 400 pounds because around that time when I left, I had started that weight loss Instagram. I was like, oh, I'm going to, do it. And public shaming, that's what's going to do it.
It did, it seems like.
I gotta say it did not. It really did.
Okay.
The weight loss Instagram is not what got me to like it. It's not what got me to where I'm at now, and it's not what got me to like really take a look at like my relationship with food. All it did was just make me go to the gym, which is pretty fucking easy. Even if you're like, I mean, if you go to the gym, you'll see dudes there that are like, like if you consistently go to one gym, you'll probably see multiple people there who are very large and go there every day, because like going to gym is fucking fun. You have like a goal, you're going to whatever, but like food is the hard part. I'm sure I'm sure everyone knows, like eating correctly is the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, it's different for me. I have a totally different. I'm the polar opposite of you because I grew up looking like anorexic.
And I fucking hate you. I'm very jealous. Very jealous.
Then. It's a total different body type. But actually, if we could rewind a little bit when I was talking about the interview with Jeremy, and you said, you were never a average sized kid, like the stuff that you talked about with him about like the amount of fast food that you ate was insane to me. So I'm just wondering, where did that go? Because if you were with your parents, I assume there had to be a certain point where you were on your own, where it was just like I could do multiple runs a day of like Taco Bell, KFC. Like
every
it sounds
morning,
like it was one of the most out of control runs I've ever heard.
To give you an idea, when I was even with my parents, like there would be, and I was just talking to a buddy of mine about this, and like it came in my mind as a memory, and I told him about it, and he was disgusted. Right? Like it was so ridiculous, but it's true. When I was younger, like, with my parents, they were, in charge of me. Me and my dad would go to a Burger King and just sit there for hours, just eating sandwiches, like just
for hours. Wow.
Hours. Just
because I grew up
there
with all that crap food too, but I mean, it was just, I ordered one of the combo meals and went on with my life,
No. We would sit there for hours, and it wasn't like hours, but like we would go at like in the morning and like eat, a large amount of those breakfast sandwiches. And then we would just sit there and wait for lunch, dinner to get opened up, and we would eat, another $40 worth of food. And it's,
Do you think your dad realized like because I'm sure now it's like what a bad influence this had on you. Like, what do you think was his thinking?
I don't know what he or my parents were thinking, and this is not a shit on them,
No, but I mean, just so many people are also just so uneducated, but it almost sounds like he passed on his addiction to you, and if that becomes your habit at such a young age, that becomes you.
I'm not here to, tell him if he's addicted or not. What I will say, what you just said, bad habits. It's an awful habit. It's an awful, like, way to live, but it's very, Dude, fucking food, it hits a lot of receptors, a lot of pleasure points. So like, yeah, man, it's a bad habit. It is a terrible way to live, but people do it, and I was in there, and even as a kid, that would happen. Dude, when I used to be in bands when I was like younger, and we would have like practice at my house, and my parents would order like 6 or 7 large pies of pizza, for the whole band, and I would eat at least 2 of them easy by myself.
Wow.
Like food was just always, in me. But when it got really bad was when I was in California, and I would and I was doing Uber and Lyft, and this
Well,
was
it's
when
funny
I
you
was
say
like,
California though, because I'm imagining in Jersey. I mean, once again, you were 600 pounds in Jersey, so it had to have been
550, get it right, 550.
550. So I mean, it had to have been out of control way
Oh yeah.
before California.
Oh yeah, so even when I was in Jersey, like a normal day would be I would wake up and when I was living in East Orange, like right before I moved out of Jersey, I was there was a McDonald's right next to it, right? So like I would go there and I would get 2 double quarter pounder meals, like just 2 of those, and that would be like how I started the day, and then after that, like while I was driving around for work, stop at any Taco Bell. Taco Bell. It's funny. I never ate Taco Bell as a kid, and then when I got older, I really fucking loved it. And I would get 4 or 5 of those cheesy potato burritos, and I would just eat that, and that was like a light snack. And throughout the whole day, just constantly eating, constantly eating. I was only saying California because like towards the end is when like there was a point where I had lost like I had lost about like I was on the low end of the 350 again. Like I was on the low end.
Which is a big deal. I mean, that you
Yeah.
don't just shed nearly 300 pounds like it's nothing. I mean, you
Well, I was
made
on
an
that low
insane amount
end.
of progress at that point, whether there was crazy stuff going on behind the scenes or not.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, and that was a lot of restricting, a lot of, just grinding it out by either not eating or doing extra drugs to not eat, either way you're not eating. But there was a point where like I shot up 80 pounds within 3 months because it was every morning I'd wake up and I would go to Jack in the Box and then I would go to Taco Bell and I would get 2 meals from each of those spots. And then as I was Ubering or lifting or whatever, it would just be constant stops at every single type of fast food joint, every single one.
And then because like I said, I just knew you as any other kid who partied with us. And as far as I knew, you like to like smoke weed recreationally and drink. I had no idea. I actually would like to hear the backstory of like how it became an out of control thing for you.
Dude, I don't even know. Like, I don't even like like it was always like party drugs. It was always fun. It was always fun. And then so it's a cliche story, but like cocaine really fucked me up. Like cocaine really like that's when it got real bad. And it got real bad in Jersey towards the end. Like I was dude, it started as just a party thing, and then at one point I found a guy that I was like working with at an office. He had it all the time, and then it was like just a constant thing. And then I was going out all night doing poetry stuff, and a bunch of my friends from there were doing it, so we were always doing that. And then it just kind of snowballed into this thing where I was like, "Oh fuck, I can't live without this. Like, there's no way. Like, I cannot do anything without this." And then when I left Jersey. I didn't have any on me, and I didn't do any of it while I was on that weed farm, but that was only for like less than a month. And dude, I went from the weed farm down to so I went from the weed farm, and then I went out to Florida for I think it was Hurricane Irma in 2017, and I worked that hurricane, and I was there for like 3 months, completely off drugs. The only thing I had was weed. That's a whole other fucking crazy story getting there, but all I had was like weed. And then when I got back to California, because I put all my shit into a storage unit. That was like the day I moved into my apartment out here, I found a coke dealer. And then it was right back to every day, every single day. And that's when shit got real bad. And yeah, that's when it got real rough.
So I'm just wondering, between eating insane amounts of fast food a day, doing insane amounts of coke a day, did you have like some crazy health scare that changed how you like the trajectory of your life or something? Because I would
No.
just imagine the combination of those two things We both know it's deadly.
Yeah, no, I'll be 100% honest. There was no health scare. It was what made me want to get clean, and I technically it was a health scare, but it was not the reason for it. So in 2019, right before that year I got sober, but before I got sober that year, I had cellulitis in my leg, and I had it like I 11 times, and I had to go to the hospital every time because my leg would fucking swell up and it was an infection. And 3 times I almost died. Like they told me, like, dude, I was like fever, sweating, couldn't fucking move. Had to drive myself a few times there. It was awful. Like it was fun. And I was doing cocaine in the in the bathroom of the waiting room of the hospital. Like I was very bad. But none of that made me want to none of that was a scare. None of that was a scare at all. I'll tell you what it was. And it's so weird because this is like my, 550 pounds. Practically, and I wasn't, but like practically homeless, right? Like just kind of like couch surfing. At this time, right before I got sober, I was splitting a shitty apartment with a buddy of mine who moved out to do comedy. But like, trash apartment, no real job. I can't really move. I'm binge eating and I'm binge doing fucking drugs and drinking and all that. And I'm awfully depressed, but that's not my rock bottom. This is when I got it's so weird that this is what it was. One night, I drank a whole bunch of booze and I went to go buy cocaine, and I was driving down Sepulveda Boulevard and I was trying to get arrested. Like I remember clearly like trying to like get myself caught. So I'm like swerving in and out of fucking lanes and shit. Like I'm just speeding down this fucking main road.
Why was that your mind frame that you wanted to get arrested?
What's that?
Why was that your mind frame that you wanted to get arrested?
This is very sad. I wanted to kill myself for about a month. Like I wanted to because I hated what I was like. I hated every fucking part of my life at this point. Like I'm at like a low. I can't control myself. Nothing is going my way. I had burned a lot of friendships. Like I'd burned a lot of bridges, I didn't have anyone out here that I cared about, like I had no one, and my life was not going in the way I wanted. So I wanted to kill myself. And I had looked up a way to kill myself that was like foolproof, that I wouldn't like hurt myself or just make myself like a vegetable. So I had this whole idea, but, you just said I'm doing massive amounts of drugs, I'm eating massive amounts of food. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a real job at this point, but I kept trying to save up enough money to buy this thing that would have made my suicide pretty easy. But I couldn't do it because whenever I would get $200, I go and buy cocaine. So it was a fucking, constant. So I don't remember, like, I couldn't tell you that I had an idea or a plan of like, oh, I'll get arrested. And that'll like, it was not, I was just like, fuck it. I just want to get arrested. Fuck this, like,
yeah.
I don't
You're
even
not
think
in the
I
right
had
mind state.
Yeah. I don't even think I had the idea of I want to get arrested. I was just like, I want to get the fuck out of myself. Like I'm totally, I just hate life. I hated living. I hated everything. I go and pick up the cocaine and I got like another 6-pack in the car. I'm just drinking it and I make it back to the apartment. I'm like, all right, well that didn't work. And, my idea was to just do a little bit of cocaine that night and not do all of it so I could save it for the next day. And I did it all. And I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it was like a quarter, which was like 2 8-balls, right? I did all that. And I remember like having like these, I wouldn't say it was like this is the health scare, but I was having these like convulsions, like I just like, it was fucking awful. And I felt like shit. And this is the moment. I wake up, or I didn't wake up. I went out into the hallway of the apartment I was in, and it was like 7 or 8 in the morning. And my roommate was up, and he was like, "Were you up all night doing blow?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he said in the most like apathetic way possible, he was just like, "Yeah, you can't really do that." And he walked away. And I don't know why. No idea. But at that moment, I was like, I need help. I was like, I need fucking help. Because, and I don't know, he didn't sit me down and like talk to me and be like, dude, you got to change. It was not like that. It just
hit you at the right time.
What's that?
It just hit you at the right time, it sounds like.
Yeah. So a friend of mine months before this happened had told me like, hey, if you ever want to get sober, go. So that was what made me find a AA meeting, or a 12-step meeting, and then I got that was what charted that, and I never relapsed on drugs since. I just yeah.
So, did you then go into the eating addiction the food addiction at the same time?
Almost. So I got sober in October of 2019, and then my sponsor for the drugs and alcohol was like, you might want to look into looking at your food addiction. And I was like, I don't have food addiction, man. And he was like, oh, okay. And then I met someone at a show who actually has ties to the Insane Clown Posse world, which is very funny. Very, 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 like, just totally fucking, out of this world connection. They were talking about being sober, and when I went up to them, I was like, "Oh, I'm newly sober," and then they were like, "I'm not that sober," and I was like, "What do you mean?" And then they told me, and like it just made me cry. Like I just started crying when they were talking about like they were sober with food, and I just asked them like, "Can you help me?" And then they were like, "Yeah," and they took me to a meeting for a 12-step program for food addiction, and that I started working, and that I've had a couple ups and downs with that one, but I've been in that program coming up on 5 years in a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope that you're enjoying this interview with Chris Stanley. What a motivating and inspirational story. I know if I say that, he'll feel like I'm boosting his ego a little bit too much, but truthfully, I feel like there's someone out there or several people out there listening in this audience who are going to get something out of Chris's story, and it really shows that it truly is possible to lose hundreds of pounds, to get fit without taking the easy route or the easy way out of it. With that, before we continue, this episode is sponsored by our great friends at Fort Scott Munitions. Fort Scott is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammo designed to tumble upon impact TUI, their trademark, in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. Originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade design, it was found that not only did their TUI ammo outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With it being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, and they give a great discount to our listeners when you go to FSM.com and you use the promo code BATTLELINE for 15% off. They have these great tins available on the website that I keep on my desk here, and you could change up which ammo that you want. This is the 9mm here, the 80 grain, sorry. But you could check out the website for more of those tins, more great designs. Once again, when you go to FSM.com and use the promo code BATTLELINE for 15% off select purchases. Fort Scott is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. This show is also brought to you by our great friends at Photonis Defense. Now you can have the superpower to see in the dark with the Viper Binocular Night Vision System by Photonis Defense, the global leader in night vision solutions, providing more high-quality night vision capabilities than anyone. Military, law enforcement, and public safety end users utilize Photonis Defense solutions to give them the edge at night in tactical situations and rescue operations. Hunters, shooters, boaters, and enthusiasts can rely on the Photonis Defense Viper Binocular to become masters of darkness. The new Viper Binocular system carries the same features and benefits as the Photonis Defense Viper Monocular, with a ruggedized body and harnesses the power of the Echo Intensifier tubes, giving you sharper images, reduced halo, and industry-leading ultra-fast auto-gating across the range of dynamic operating conditions. This is the best night vision out there. We want you to check them out. PhotonisDefense.com. PHOTONIS Defense.com for more information. Link is in the description wherever you're listening or watching. Or you can look for Photonis Defense product options from your night vision dealer. With that, let's get right back to our interview with Chris Stanley. I mean, I think when people see the before and afters, which we're going to put them all in the video, and just when you tell people how dramatic of a weight loss it is, because I don't really know anyone else personally like you who's lost so much weight. I'm sure you get it all the time. Like, people assume, oh, were you on Ozempic, which wasn't even around when you started? Did you get the lap band surgery? And like, it's just insane what you did purely based on hard work and motivation and discipline. Like, it blows my mind as someone who's into fitness, because I got my personal trainer certification at one point. I helped people get more fit. And, I've even fluctuated in my own life where there are times where I look like a guy who's like more muscular, and then there's other times where I look like I barely even lift. Like, it's very hard.
Dude, I saw some pictures of you, man.
But those are the good points.
I was impressed. I was like, holy shit, fucking Ian is jacked right now, dude.
Thank you, man. But I fluctuate, like I think most people do, because different things occur in life where it's like the gym is no longer my priority, or eating properly is no longer my priority. But the point being, like, I've never personally helped anyone lose hundreds upon hundreds of pounds. And I think most people who were in the state that you were in 10 years ago would say, there's no way I could lose this naturally. It's absolutely impossible. And I think everyone assumes you have to take something like Ozempic, like you're too far gone.
And I was able to at least so I think for me there's like two different points that I look at in life. And one of them is like with the food. Like, I say this with all earnest, right? Or earnest, whatever the word is. I say this honestly.
Earnesty?
Yeah, whatever. Earnesty. I really am like powerless over food. Like, I like getting to the point where I'm at now was through a lot of surrender. Like, I am a drug addict when it comes to food. And if
Which,
you talk
for people who are wondering, so that means for you, based on what no cheat meals. Like, you don't go to Taco Bell every couple weeks and say, let me indulge a little bit.
No, there's no indulging. I have a very strict food plan that I've worked out with someone who I run all my food by. He's not he's just a guy who's also lost hundreds of pounds, and he helps me work through this. But no, I don't do cheat meals. I don't, my only cheat meal is if I get to go to a steakhouse, but it's still the same. It's the same thing I eat every day, which is protein and fucking vegetables. And that's what I eat. But no, there's no cheat meals. I can't do that. I cannot handle that. So when you say, and it's very flattering, like, through hard work, discipline, with the food, there is no hard work. There is no discipline. Like, and I don't say that to get a pat on the back. For me, in my mind, the way I got to look at it is that I'm surrendering to the fact that the food is just gonna fuck me every time. The food is going to ruin my life, and I got to give that up. And I surrender to it and all that shit. I will say with the gym though, that is a discipline thing that I love. Like, it frames my day, dude. I was so worried that I was gonna be late to this fucking thing we're doing because I got stuck in Lancaster and I had to get down here, and I was like, well, I got to do the gym before this. Like, I got to get it working, and call it obsession, call it whatever. But if it gets my energy out, man, I got to be run down like a dog every day. Because a guy like me who did massive amounts of drugs, ate himself to almost dying, right? Like, there's something going on here. There's something that needs to get drained out. There's an energy in me that's like, we got to get this out of you some way. So, some people, like, they might, like, get really into their work or like really into, a hobby, whatever. I got really into the gym, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and yeah. So that is a discipline for sure. And no, I never did a surgery for weight loss. I don't take any drugs. I drink a lot of caffeine, but that's all I do.
The only surgery you told me about, which I don't know if that's upcoming or you did, is for the excess skin, right?
I did that. Yeah. I did that for my chest and my stomach, and my the pouch of skin that was hanging over my genitalia. I did that. That did not help my weight loss at all. It made my body very swollen, which it still is now, because it was a few months back that I did it. So I'm recovering from that, and that has been dude, that's a whole other shit show, bro. If you're thinking about getting skin removal, not you, because you're a fucking infit fucking asshole your whole life, but if you're thinking about getting skin surgery, look into it. It's rough.
But I'm sure, like, aesthetically, it's because you put in so much work, and to have to overcome that one obstacle that you can't naturally overcome,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's like so important, man, because you do want to look a certain way because you put the time into it.
Yeah, I'd be lying to you if I said I did it for anything other than aesthetics.
Yeah.
Like it was absolutely for that. And like right now, I don't have the aesthetics just yet because it's still recovering. So it's kind of like, fuck, dude, give me what I want. I want to, trying to look fucking shredded, dude. But
Yeah.
it is, it is what it is. But yeah, no, that surgery I did, and half of it was covered by my insurance company, which was
That's
crazy.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into what you're doing now, while you were in California? Because it sounds like at a certain point you said, "All right, I guess in some way giving up the dream of stand-up comedy or poetry," but you're really successful with what you're doing now.
I do good. I do good. Dude, that was, complete luck. I gotta say, COVID was awesome. COVID was great. I'm so happy we had the pandemic. It was the best times of my life. Because like what happened is that like I didn't do insurance for a while, and then when COVID hit, everyone was scared to go into someone's house, and one of the companies that I worked for back in New Jersey had contacted me and was like, "Hey, do you have are you willing to go and do inspections?" And I was like, "Absolutely, 100%." I had actually just gotten a job. A buddy of mine had got me a job, and I feel bad how I left that job, but it was like a call center job. And like when I had left New Jersey, even before I left New Jersey, when I had first gotten into doing insurance adjusting, Jeremy, he was the one that got me into it. I had said to myself, I'm never going to work in an office again. But when I got sober and like I didn't have anything, I was like, I need something, So I got this call center job, and then I was given this opportunity because no one else was working to go back into doing inspections. And doing that, I kind of was able to regain my career with that. Like I was able to get back into it. So, I made a couple mistakes and burned a couple bridges by accident, even out here. But yeah, it was a total God shot of getting to come out here, or getting my opportunity to work out here. And now I get to travel all over.
I see you're traveling all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just in Georgia for the hurricanes, Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, but it seems like it's something that you love, and
I love the life it gives me. I love the life it gives me. Yeah, for sure. It's dude, it's funny because you said I gave up the pursuing of the dream of becoming a performer and an entertainer and all that. So if I talk if you look at my life on paper right now, it's like, all right, he's some guy who works insurance. That's, whatever. And I've never been happier. Never been.
That's great. Happier. That's great then, man. And I think being married, having the dogs, all of that.
Fantastic. It's my the marriage was the best day of my life. Meeting my wife has been fantastic. I met her during the pandemic too. Like I said, pandemic was the best time ever. I don't know why anyone hated it so much. It was awesome.
Well, it's also probably, I feel like it worked out meeting your wife when you did, I'm sure, because you, and this is something probably the audience to get something out of, but meeting someone when you feel like you're at your best and you're most confident, and it's never going to be perfect, but I'm sure if you met your wife at a different point, it never would have worked out the way that it did.
No, I think the person that I was with that had left me, that I thought I was going to marry this one chick out in New York. I was like, oh, this is the one, but where I was in life, and where she was in life too, for us to be, attracted to one another and be with one another was almost a sign of you're both fucked. You're both out of your mind. What are you doing? There's something wrong with these two people. And now with Lizzie, we both met each other at a time when we were both at our, again, not perfect, but like at
Of
our
course.
best, you know, like
Yeah.
at our best, where it was like, you know, we are doing things for ourselves in a positive way, in a healthy way.
And you're
Uh,
attracting, the like attracting like of someone
yeah.
bettering their life to another person bettering their life.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm sure people hear it all the time, but like that lady, best thing never happened to me.
Yeah.
Hands down. And funny story, she met her dad the same way I met my dad, which was yeah. That was like while we were we met on Hinge, by the way. So, you know, big shout out to Hinge. But I asked her, I was like, hey, what's the craziest thing that's like happened to you in the last couple of years? And because I wanted to hit her with like, yo, I found my dad through 23andMe. And then she hit me. She was like, oh, I found my aunts and my dad through 23andMe. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. And yeah, that's how she met her dad. Crazy story. Crazy, you know, coincidence.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So, to connect this with the audience that I think would be kind of interesting is, as you know, like I've interviewed at this point, I think like literally hundreds of special operators, if you count this podcast and then the last one that I did. And although there are those guys who like stay fit all their whole lives, Chris, who works with me, like I don't think he's ever not been fit. He's made jokes about, oh, I was starting to look like Danny Trejo, but I think that's all a bunch of bullshit. And he just likes to say I was a Mexican who was like out of shape. But but there are guys actually I've had on the podcast who I'm obviously not going to name, that if you saw them in person, you would go, there's no way this guy's an Army Ranger. Or was an Army Ranger. He's completely out of shape, like has a giant gut, like looks terrible. So there are guys, I think, who have like lost the motivation to keep going, lost the motivation to go to the gym, to eat properly. I'm just wondering, like, what would you tell people? And also, what would you tell your former self? Because it sounds like from the outside, I was just like, wow. And I still know you as Jelly, but Chris, gradually lost all this weight. But like, I wasn't with you every day. I didn't know about all the fluctuations. Like, I'm just wondering the motivation, or just what you would tell people if you can go back in time. Like, if you're hundreds and hundreds of pounds overweight, I think a lot of people are like, where the hell do I begin?
So I don't know what I would tell myself. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think there was anything to tell me, to be honest. Like, I don't think, like, there's no piece of advice that I could give myself or even anyone else who, like, if you're in that type of life, like, if you're in that type of, you know, rotation or whatever, that cycle of, like, you know, binge eating, drinking, using, all that shit. There's nothing I'm going to fucking say. There's nothing anyone can say. Like, you got to hit some type of shit where it's like, you got to be in enough pain to want to change. You know, like, that's just plain and simple. If you're talking about where you start, at least on like a fitness aspect, and I'm not a personal trainer,
But you know enough. I mean,
all
people
I know,
looking at the transformation will say that they will trust you more than me easily, because you've done it.
maybe. In regards to like just I can speak on fitness, like just like working out, dude. Just fucking like, if you're really like, yo, I want to change, just move, go to the gym and move, like get on a treadmill, fucking just move. All you got to do is move, and then eventually, you know, like there's a million different websites that you can go on for like calorie trackers and like, you know, your macros. Or I don't follow macros. I tried doing it and it made me too insane in my head. Like just like the obsession. So I just stick with like, I know for me there's just certain foods I don't touch, and then aside from that, like, you know, I just eat, you know, pretty much. I don't even want to say clean food. I just eat fucking protein, vegetables, and some fruit, and cheese.
What foods do you not touch? Because there may even be people listening who are like, "What?" A lot of people really are lacking any education or any knowledge on nutrition, and they're like, "Where do I begin? What foods are bad?"
Well, I don't want to say bad. I know for me, I can't handle sugar or flour. Like any type of sugar, any type of flour, I don't touch. I just leave it alone. I have artificial sugar, man. I drink about like 40 cases of this a day.
This has stevia in it.
Dude, I got a whole box of stevia that I throw in my coffee every morning. But I don't eat sugar and I don't eat flour. Rarely do I eat potatoes or rice, and that's mainly because I don't feel like I get full off of it. I just eat. I'm a volume eater. I like a lot of big fucking plates of food. So I eat a lot of vegetables. I eat a lot of vegetables. And again, that's it. It's all calories in, calories out. At the end of the day, if we're looking at it mathematically, so I fuck with that. But dude, for the gym motivation, for me, it's such a wonderful structure. Like, to give you an idea, for the last, and this, maybe this will make people understand that I still am not perfect and like I kind of like drop off of things. I've had a lot of complications with this skin removal surgery. I've had to go in for a revision, and I've been laid up like this whole year. I barely worked.
I didn't realize that.
What's that?
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude. Thank God for. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but thank God for that hurricane that happened. I was able to make a little bit of money because this whole year, like, if it wasn't for my wife, we'd be fucked. But yeah, this whole year in February, I had the first surgery, and that was the biggest one. Then in April, I had the second one. Then in September, I had to do a revision, and all in between that time, I had a lot of infections. Like the skin is starting to finally heal. It's like there's been a lot of shit. But for a while, I wasn't able to go to the gym, and it was really hard. It was like, dude, September was one of the roughest months for me. I was very depressed, and also October, I was very depressed. And I don't even know if I don't want to say I have depression, but I was sad, dude. Like, I had no structure. There was like, I woke up in pain, did my, whatever I could do at home, which was like, just cleaning the house, doing like, meetings and stuff like that. But not being able to go to the gym and not have structure was really difficult. And I'm someone who thrives off of having a structure. I thrive off of having every morning I wake up, like, I'm going to walk the dogs and then I'm going to go to the gym. That's my morning, every morning. And I'm back into it. This is my third week, like, back into like a normal gym routine. And it feels so good. I think the motivation is like, try it, and then you'll probably realize, oh yeah, I feel great. Dude, the first week back sucked so bad. Oh, I'm so sore. You know how it is. You get the DOMs and all that.
But I also feel like for the person just starting out, the first few months or the first like half a year might suck. Yeah. You're not going to be someone who's like, man, I love this. Everybody who's just getting into it, you hear it from all of them. I hate working out. And it's like that negative self-talk. I do this because I have to, but I hate it. Like, it takes a while to develop like the positive feelings that are associated with going.
Man, I can't argue with you on that, and I only phrase it like that because I literally, like, the act of going to the gym, the act of participating in the movements, like the whole like channeling, like all my focus on this one thing of like lift this heavy thing as much as you can, really does, like, I get hit with the adrenaline. I get hit with all those great fucking feelings, all the endorphins, all that shit. So it's me and my wife talk about it a lot, how like when I'm not going to the gym, I'm a fucking asshole. Like, I'm irritable, I'm fucking pissed off, and I'm irritable 90% of the day anyway. But like, going there, I really do love it. Like, I love the action of it. When you first start, it does suck though. When you first start, it sucks. That's why I say if you're starting on working out, just go to the gym and move. Just get on a treadmill and walk. Like, is it wrong of me to think that I'm surprised that in this day and age, with all the information we have, that most people don't know where to start? Like, it's surprising to me. Like, I'm shocked to hear you say something like that. And maybe that's my own ignorance, but
yeah, but are you really? Because I think if you spoke to someone who was in your same condition right today, that they would have that issue. I don't know where to start.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know. And maybe it's because like my algorithm is flooded with like fitness shit and like juggalo shit and workout. That's all I get fed, dude. So I'm just like, yeah, how do you not know, bro? Fucking 2,500 calories, protein. Like, that's all, That's
Yeah.
all I'm.
But you
fucking,
didn't know that until
No.
many
You're
years
right. I did
later.
not know that when I first started. I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. I thought you had to eat like 900 calories a day, and
That's another thing. I'm wondering if you see that in your experience of people who go too hard starting out. Because I could tell you in the year that I worked as a personal trainer, like a year and a half, there were people I trained who were probably somewhere around the size that you were, and they were getting in the gym the first time. And I remember specifically this one guy on the rowing machine, and he was going like super hard, super fast, and I had to be like, dude, slow down, like because you're you're gonna hate you're doing a form of torture on yourself
yeah,
basically,
yeah.
and you're never gonna want to come back here. It's gonna be associated with torturing yourself, and I think sometimes people feel like I got to get this weight off quickly. I got to be transformed in a year, and it's you got to slowly adapt to what you're doing.
I did that with my food for the first year. I very much restricted, like really hard, like barely ate anything. And I'm 6'2", and I got down to 170 with like
Jeez, you
yeah,
weighed
with like
less than me. That's
with no
insane.
muscle tone. No muscle tone. I remember it was bad. It was bad. And now I'm between like per a doctor 190 and 200. That's like about where I like, bounce back and forth. And yeah, man, no, I got down to one set and it was from like just straight up pretty much not eating. I remember one night I ate 4 string beans and a hard boiled egg, and that was it. So to your point, yeah, people go too hard. Like there's in, and I feel like that's the issue for someone like myself that I'm sure other people can relate to. I'm a person of extremes. I'm going, either it's fucking like 5 bags of Taco Bell with 7-Eleven donuts, which are disgusting, or it's 4 string beans and an egg. Like it's just like there's no balance, and I think it at the end of the day that is one of the hardest things that happens, or like that's the hardest thing is finding the balance, because a balance isn't fun, in my opinion. A balance is just boring. Like being reasonable. That's a very
Yeah.
boring thing.
Do you think part of that is another addiction? Because so I have a friend who lost a really good amount of weight. Nothing like you, and we're not talking hundreds of pounds, maybe 100 something pounds. He manages at a restaurant, and I know that because he told me, because he lost way too much weight at one point, where all of us were saying like, Steve, you got to put on some weight. And I remember him just relaying to me that customers were coming in who saw him a year ago, and it was like, Steve, you have lost so much weight, and that positive reinforcement, I think it was like never enough that I'm going to keep losing more weight, and I'm going to lose more weight. I'm going to be more impressive. And to me, that seems like a whole nother addiction to say, I'm good right now. I'm going to maintain this, maybe put on some muscle. But that extreme weight loss and that positive reinforcement, I think, becomes addictive for some people.
Can you? I mean, you knew me at my heaviest, like even just like through Facebook pictures. Like, can you imagine? And this is not a shot at you, but you're one of them. Can you imagine the amount of people who've been very nice and flattering to me, who have been like, "Dude, what happened, bro? Like that's fuck." Can you imagine the amount of people? And that's not to pat my. I'm not bragging. Like it's just it's a fact.
Of course.
Got a lot of it. And I'll tell you that, like, when I got under, my goal for so long, dude, was to just be under 300 pounds. That's all I wanted. All I wanted was I'll be at 299 for the rest of my life. I'm good. And when I got under that, it didn't matter. And then I was like, I just got to get under 200 pounds. I just got to be under 200 pounds. And then I got there, and it didn't matter. I was, I told you a little bit right before we started recording, like I was kind of scared to do this. Like I'm not scared, but like I was a little bit hesitant to like talk about my fucking experience, because it really does feed into that egotistical bullshit. Like it feeds into that addiction of like, yeah, man, I'm fucking cool. Like, look at me, dude. I fucking lost all this weight. Look at me, man. I'm not a fucking piece of shit. Like, look, it feeds into that. That's its own addiction itself. I don't really do anything. I don't do any 12-step program around that. I kind of just at this point, I used to get into a gigantic conversation with people when they brought up, dude, you lost a lot of weight. And I would talk to him all about what I do and all that shit. And now it's gotten to the point where I'm just like, thank you. Like, thank you, man. It's very nice of you. Cause like, it's not that I don't want to talk about it. It's not that I'm trying to be coy. It's that I don't want to get into the shit. Cause I truly believe for the food, like not like today, I'm not going to eat sugar and flour, right? I haven't eaten sugar and flour today so far. I don't think I'm going to eat it by the time I go to bed. And I don't believe that I did anything about that. As weird as that might sound, I look at that as like something bigger than me is helping me not do that. So I don't want to take credit for that. I'll take credit on going to the gym, for sure. I'll take credit for that all day. But I don't want to take credit on like not eating like a fucking lunatic because I didn't do it. I didn't do anything other than just like look for help. And I know that that's a very maybe not like a hardcore fucking way to look at it, but it's really what helps me out.
Yeah, and also from what you're saying with the ego thing, it's probably weird that this major decision you've made in your life and the progress you've made, that becomes your entire identity. Because
Yeah.
I've known you so long that's like, I just know you as a funny guy, a guy who loves music. And to me, like, you're still the same guy in a lot of ways. But this is like one major part of you that's changed, but you still have the same identity. And yeah, it probably is also like annoying to just be identified as this guy who got off drugs and lost massive amount of weight. That's not the entirety of what makes you you.
It was cool at first. It was cool to be that, like it was because it was like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, tell me how cool it, tell me how good I am, tell me I'm good, tell me, and it goes back to like, when I was a kid, I didn't get any of that shit. I was never really, no one ever like my parents were pretty supportive, but no one was ever like, dude, you look great, dude, you're killing it. What a great job you did by not eating that. No one ever said that shit to me. So like, yeah, man, like, dude, the amount of clothes I bought when I dropped all my weight, like I want to show you my closet. It's just tracksuits and ICP shirts.
Yes.
And like tight jeans. Like I never bought clothes like outside of the big and tall store. You know what I mean? Like now I can, I rock whatever the fuck I want, and like that was its own little obsession for a long time.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen you in so many tracksuits.
Yeah, I'm wearing track pants right now. I took the jacket off because it was kind of hot. I wanted to show off my muscles,
So what I'm wondering from your perspective as someone who at least I would say put the hard work in to get to where you are today, what do you think of how big Ozempic and all that has gotten? Like, do you think this is a negative? Because I mean, some people are going to say, I don't have the self-control that you have, and I want to look better. I want to feel better about myself. But I just think in life, at least from my perspective, like there are no quick fixes. Someone who drops what you dropped strictly through a drug, they didn't go through the transformation that you did, health-wise for sure. So
so like before Ozempic, it was like the weight loss surgeries, and I got approved for weight loss surgery easily 3 times. And but I wasn't able to do it every time because I was a drug addict, and like they would just be like, if you have a substance abuse problem, you can't do this. And the reason why is that like it's a tool. So like I look at Ozempic as a possible tool. Like if I think you have to look at it from both perspectives of like cost benefit analysis. Like if you're a fucking 500. If you're just 300 pounds and your diabetes is through the roof, you know what I'm saying? Like you are like having like life-threatening shit. Maybe the better option is to inject yourself with this shit and drop the weight so you can get the diabetes. Like who knows? I don't know, man. I'm not a doctor. I don't think it's sustainable. I think that's what the problem is. It's like something like Ozempic. I believe, and I could be wrong, I think it's going to be a lot like with the weight loss surgeries where for a small percentage of people, it really works. Like I know my ex, she had the surgery when we were together. She had the weight loss surgery, and she's kept the weight off this entire time. Like she lost all of it, and it's worked really well for her. But I know a lot of guys who've had the surgery, and then they put on double what they lost. So like I think
Like Chris Christie, your former
yeah,
governor.
my good friend Chris Christie. You know, me and him, we talk all the time, and I tell him, you know, you're a fat bitch, and you know, you got to lose the weight. Yeah, no, but exactly, he's a great public figure example. Like, you can have the lap band and shit, but like, you're just gonna gain the weight back. There's slider foods, there's all that. So like, I think that with Ozempic, it's gonna be the same thing. Like, once that goes away, or once your body gets used to it. And to be honest, and I don't know a lot about Ozempic because I gotta say, when it first came out, I was like, fuck, could have fucking used that. I could have gotten there instead of doing all this other shit. Like, I don't know a lot about it, but like, from what I've heard, like, there's already shit saying that like it causes like liver failure, like liver issues and shit. So it's scary. It could be bad, but I think the biggest thing is that it does not, as you said, it's an easy quick fix. It's not going to be sustainable realistically, like in the long run. And, you know, if it helps you develop better lifestyle changes, then fuck yeah, dude, I bet you that'll work. And then you can eventually get off of it or whatever. But doesn't seem like that's how it goes, man. Doesn't seem like, or at least for the majority of people, you know?
And just from the celebrities I've seen who are either admittedly on it or rumored to be on it, truthfully, they don't really look good. Because you don't just lose fat, you lose muscle too. So you kind of just have this like emaciated look. It's not a good look.
No. Well, yeah, because apparently like it like and again, I really don't know much about it, but like apparently it like curbs your hunger. So if you're not eating, you're just gonna, you know, you're just gonna, like you said, you're just gonna get emaciated, man. You're gonna be unhealthy. So like you're just going back to another extreme.
Yeah.
So I am grateful that for whatever I do today seems to be working in a way that I don't have to go towards that shit. Because I don't, you know, I know for me that wouldn't work. I need to have like a structure. I need to have like a slow burn goal, I guess. You know, at least with like lifting and like fitness.
Yeah. I just wish more people who are directed towards that way, whether it's Ozempic or the surgery, could at least be shown someone like you to say, hey, it is possible. It is humanly possible to do all this naturally. And whether people
really
want to go through the whole journey of what you did or not, they at least need to be informed of it. Because I think a lot of the times it's like you're just going to a doctor. And I mean, this would be a whole discussion about the medical system at large, but you know, you turn on your TV, we're the only country other than New Zealand where it's ask your doctor about this, ask your doctor about that, instead of like, hey, start going to a gym regularly, start going for walks regularly, change your diet. You know, I don't think that's what's encouraged in this country.
It's not, and I'll tell you that, and this is very, this is definitely ego boosting for me. Whenever I go to the doctor, I always get the question of, when did you have the gastric bypass? When it's not a did you, it's not a, because like even with the surgery, like I still got loose skin and shit. Like you can tell that I've had a large amount of weight loss, you know, just by looking at me sometimes. Sometimes you can't, and that feels good. But every time I go to the doctor, I'll get that question, and I gotta go, I didn't have the surgery. And then they go, what? And like they are fucking.
They think you're lying.
Yeah, no, they're done. And dude, I've had someone say like, well,
it's like a girl and like, I don't have fake boobs. Like that's yeah.
It's like, wait, really? Those aren't fake, dude. It's every time, and like that. It in my experience, when I tell a doctor that or like a nurse that, and they're so dumbfounded, like it's kind of fucking it's not awe-inspiring, that's not the word, but it's fucking weird. It's surreal because I have a doctor, like, dude, I had a doctor one time. I went to a doctor and I asked him for like a healthy body weight range. I was like, hey man, I got muscle on me, like, you know, what is a healthy body weight range? And this doctor was like, man, you know more than I do on how to lose weight and keep it off. And I'm like, no, don't fucking tell me that. Like, you're a doctor, dude. Like,
you do though.
I mean, maybe, but don't tell, like, at least pretend. Like, my point is that, like, you are right. Like, we're not pushing, like, healthy habits, you know? And
No.
not to make it political, but, like, I'm absolutely against, you know, pushing medicines in any type of way on on TV. You know, like ask your
Yeah.
doctor about this. You know, do all that. Like it's fucking wild to me that we do that.
Yeah.
And it's also wild to me. Like, dude, look at the food pyramid. You know, like at the very bottom, like what we should be eating is always like, you know, breads and pastas and all that shit, which is what I ate as a kid.
Yeah.
And you know,
Well,
550
the whole medical system, which you're getting into, and it does get into politics, but it is the truth. It all has to do with who's providing the money. I have a crazy example that I think I told in this podcast years ago, and I don't even remember why. I remember I had to get a blood test for something in somewhere in Manhattan. It wasn't an area I usually go to, but it was just the right doctor was there or something. And after they drew blood from me, I said, "Hey, I'm like really hungry. I don't know this area at all. What's a good place to eat around here?" And the guy who worked there is like, I don't really know anywhere like any food places around here. I'm like, you work here every day though. How do you not know what to get to eat here? He goes, "Oh," and I swear to you, this happened. He's like, "Oh, the health insurance, the medical sales reps, they just come in here and they give us food every day." So, and it's like, so it's to help push their product. Like, there's obviously an act of like, we're helping you out, help get our product out there, and that's insane to me.
This is not exactly the like to the point you're making, but similar on like the idea of how ridiculous our health care is in regards to like what they push on people. I had to have these surgeries, and they like before any surgery they give you like a sheet with a bunch of things like, hey, don't eat before this time, don't eat after this time, all this stuff. And then one of the things at the bottom was, make sure you drink the surgery prep drink that you can get from the pharmacy. So I was like, okay. So I go and I pick up the surgery prep drink, and I'm like, what is this? And they go, oh, it's like a Gatorade. And I was like, well, what's in it? And they were like, oh, well, there's sugar and there's electrolytes. And I'm like, oh, I don't drink sugar. Like, I don't eat sugar. Like, what can I have? And they go, oh, I guess you could just drink water. They like, why don't you just tell people to drink water? Like, why wouldn't it just be drink water? Like, there's no benefit to this.
Really? Because I've had to have the surgery prep drink for different things that I had to do for like a hernia operation. Yeah.
When I asked them if there was any alternative, the alternative to the surgery prep drink was water.
I never knew this.
I don't know why it needs to be given as like, and you know, dude, when I wake up out of surgery, the first thing they're trying to give me is crackers and juice. And it's like, no, you know, like, and I understand it. Like, I totally get why, right? Like, they want to get your blood sugar raising. Like, I'm not shitting on it, but it's just like, I feel like there might be a better way to give people what they need, you know, nutrient wise than like what you give a child in first grade, you know, or like, you know, oh, drink this sugar drink with and like, I guess it was my own shit on that, but it was just so wild to me that when I asked, you know, what can I drink other than this drink? They said water. And it's like, well, why don't you just have everyone drink water? Why is it that it was so wild, dude? So wild.
Yeah, I never knew about that. But Ben, I really think this has been fascinating, genuinely, and I do think people are going to get something out of it because I do think there's probably someone listening who's saying, I have no idea where to begin, and maybe they could hit you up.
More than welcome.
I'll give out your info and everything. But yeah, I was just going to say, I told you this, but now it's confirmed. I'll be in LA end of the month. Go out from Christmas to New Year's.
Dude, for Christmas Eve, we have like a tradition. We bring all our dogs. But once you talked, all my dogs just came running inside the room.
You can bring them in, bring them on, whatever.
Let me see if I can get them on here.
Nice.
That's Dodger.
Dogs. Yeah, wow.
And then there's Raven on the floor.
That's awesome.
And then, no, that's not even that. Anyway,
nice.
Yeah, no, dude, that's awesome.
You'll be away though, you said, right?
What's that?
Didn't you say you'll be away?
No, I won't. No, we will be here. We are staying here for the whole Christmas season and New Year's.
So yeah, I'll be there from Christmas to actual New Year's Day.
Okay.
So talking about all these different things that are part of our identity, you know my love of 80s hair metal. So
can I tell you that I was so unaware of anything that you were into aside from ICP. That
Really
I
though?
never knew that until we talked the other like couple
No
months.
way, because
Really?
I got it. My first tattoo is a Dr. Feelgood tattoo, which I got at the height of being into all that Juggalo stuff. And like, there's
Really?
pictures of me at Gathering of the Juggalos wearing a Guns N' Roses shirt. Like, I was
I
always
remember
into
that.
all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I was always into all that. So,
Oh no! I'm sure you were. I'm just talking about how self-centered and just ridiculous I was in my own shit. I never even noticed all the clear things that. Oh yeah, Ian also has other interests aside from fake. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh fuck, he really is into that.
Oh yeah,
But
that's my favorite. So I mean, I think you probably know like West Hollywood and all that. Like that's the birthplace of all that. That's the Rainbow. If you've ever seen Decline of Western Civilization Part Two. Um,
I've been in that area a lot for shows, and one of my favorite cigar bars is right next door.
so basically, I'm going for. I'd have to look at all the dates, but it's like first couple of days, I'm just gonna do whatever. I want to hike the Hollywood sign. Actually, if you're down for that, that would be really cool. If you want to
I
hike
have
the
hiked it
Hollywood
a
sign.
couple times. I would love to, dude. I would love to hike the Hollywood sign with you.
Let's do it because I would just be doing it by myself. I'm taking a total solo trip here, but I like doing stuff
Dude,
solo.
that's
So
cool as shit, man.
yeah, so my
Ah,
plan is to do that. I think it's the 28th Faster Pussycat at the Whiskey A Go Go, and then December 30th Stephen Piercy from Rat at the Whiskey A Go Go, and then New Year's Eve L.A. Guns at the Whiskey A Go Go. So I'm doing those three shows. I want to do the Comedy Store, which I did when I was there 3 years ago. I never have done the Laugh Factory. I think I'm going to try to do that, and that's like the whole plan, man. But if you want to hang, I definitely will be there the whole
dude,
week.
100% on hiking, and dude, 100% in general. I'm just like us linking up.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah,
Have you ever gone to like an 80s hair metal show?
no, no.
I think you would really dig it. I really like so I grew up we're pretty much the same age, give or take. I think you're a year younger, but like with Corn, Limp Bizkit, all that, and then getting into
Okay.
ICP and all that stuff. But like the first show I saw of that genre, and I went to shows prior, but I remember in 2003, I saw Vince Neil at the Downtown in Farmingdale, which you probably have been to the Downtown. It's no longer there. But like
I don't think
Twisted
so.
played there. All right. But anyway, the whole vibe of that whole era, it's just so fun. And it's like the music I was into with Korn and all, like it's very angry. It's not celebratory, but like Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, and even like the smaller bands like LA Guns and Faster Pussycat, it's a party. And any show you go to of that genre, it's awesome because you're also just meeting so many people who like after all these years, this is the music that connects with them. And I love it, man. It's my favorite. So
I feel like
yeah,
that like being in the vibe of that whole like the whole energy of that scene and that show, that would be the most intriguing part for me. Because like I love Motley Crue, I love Guns N' Roses. Every other band you mentioned, I have no fucking idea who you're talking about.
but you might be into it. You might
I've
be
heard the
into it.
names, but I could not name you a fucking song. I don't know shit.
So here's the thing. You know this, being an old school juggalo. Violent J has a lot of wisdom. He really does with certain things that he said. I think more so in the past than now. But I remember probably around the time we were hanging out around 2004-ish when I was living in Philly, which you were at my dorm when
I
I was in
remember that.
Philly for a year. He wrote a blog for the website about going to see Jordan Knight from New Kids on the Block. And he was like, I'm not into Jordan Knight from New Kids on the Block, but he was playing at some small club in Detroit. And he's like, and I remember them playing arenas. And he was like, I just wanted to see who goes to a Jordan Knight show in 2003. And he was making fun of it, a lot of it, but he also said, I think it's so cool that like from the time they were big, uh Pearl Jam comes around and Outkast comes around and TLC or whatever. But and he's like, and these people still connect with this music enough to go see Jordan Knight play some shitty club in Detroit. And like that, I kind of get that same feeling that in 2024, how many people really care about LA Guns? They haven't had a song played on mainstream anything since like 1989, pretty much. But the fact there's still people that care about it and like this is their shit that they connect with, I just think is so cool to this day for me.
No, that is really interesting, and it's very inspiring. On like you're doing something that like you have like a passion for,
Yeah.
like the LA Guns. I don't know shit about them at all, but like clearly they're passionate about music, and like they're still doing that, and they're still connecting with some audience that's like, yo, fucking New Year's Eve, I'm going to see this bit. That's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So, dude,
They're just going solo. And by the way, it's like I've seen them probably like 8 times, and they're not even like my favorite band, but there's nothing I'd rather do on New Year's Eve than go see LA Guns, the Whiskey A Go Go. Like I couldn't think of a cooler New Year's Eve plan. And actually, since I brought up Violent J, it got me thinking of something else before we wrap things up. When you and I first got an ICP, they were very like openly anti-drugs. They weren't into any of that, and I feel like the scene of Juggalos got very drug. There was a lot of drug-induced like influence into that. And then you see Violent J now, and in and out of rehab, like I really hope that that guy long term gets things together because despite like the silliness of it all, I when Violent J used to go on Stern and do interviews '03 to like '06, like he was a really smart, insightful guy.
yeah.
And you just hear him on the drink champs he did, and I feel like his brother seems to be a really good influence, and his brother seems to always help him pull him out of these times. But man, I'd like to see that guy just like long term get his act together because it seems like he's had all these health scares, and like I said, he's on drugs, he's not on drugs. He hasn't seemed to like long term be able to just make things happen, and also suffered from the same thing as you, like one year they put out an album and you see a super fat Violent J, and then a few years later he's like in shape Violent J. He can
Dude,
never stay consistent.
his body change is wild. His body change is fucking like from like Malenko.
As wild as yours, except you stuck with it. Yeah.
When I met him, and it's funny, it kind of goes into everything you just said. When I like I got to like do the meet and greet when they were doing the hair metal thing in like a
Yeah.
and I was dressed up and shit, and I was like, dude, I got to show you. And I showed him a picture of me, him, and Shaggy at the Riddlebox show, and I was fat as shit, and they're like, that's you, and I'm like, yeah, man. And then he just started he was like, dude, no one fucking gets it. It's a fucking addiction. Like, he just jumped right into it. And it was cool. And now I see him, I'm like, he's back on that sugar, man.
He's back on that sugar and back on other things.
Yeah. And just like you, man, like I mention it to Lizzie a lot, and she doesn't know anything about ICP. But like I'll be like, damn, dude, it's gonna suck if and when this guy goes. Cause like he's, for me, that's my favorite group. Like my favorite group, hands down. And just like people connect with the LA Guns, I connect with. I'll travel the world to go see ICP. I don't give a shit,
And you have, yeah.
Yeah, but it's rough to watch that, and I do hope that I literally hope and pray that dude fucking gets his shit together and doesn't go. I do think, like, from what I've seen lately, he seems to be getting like, at least with the drug shit, I think, together. And I'm not, I know nothing on the behind the scenes shit. I don't even follow him that much on social media or like, keep up with everything they fucking talk about because half of it's about wrestling and I fucking hate wrestling. So I don't know. But I will say, like, the drug stuff, he seems to be getting a little better, but everything else is like definitely a shit show. By the way, if you start hearing a bunch of noise, because my wife is home and the dogs are about to go ape shit. So just
it's all good. I mean, we're gonna wrap up anyway. I mean, this is actually like a perfect way to end it, and hopefully for the audience, like I said, I know that sometimes we go outside the wheelhouse of what we normally do. There's probably people who want to hear guys we've had on like Rob O'Neill, Navy SEAL snipers, and that type of thing.
Well, but dude, next time, bro, I can tell you all about how I killed a bunch of insurgents back in Iraq. I am a 12-star general in the Navy forces. So, you let me know. I'm kidding.
But yeah, I mean, of course. But yeah, for the audience, I do think there's sometimes like valuable insight like this when we go outside the normal range of what we cover. And I love talking to you. And truthfully, just selfishly, it was cool to catch up with you. So If
Hell
people
yeah.
do want any tips on any of the stuff we've spoken about, it would be great if you could hit up Chris on Instagram. And actually, I don't even know the story behind your account because I remember for a while you were Lose the Jelly, which I obviously got. Jugga Santi, I know that Jugga is for Juggalo. What's the story behind the Instagram handle?
I think our mutual friend, I think he's also Andy, called me the Juggalo Chris Moltisanti. So I
I don't even know who Chris Moltis. I don't know who that
The
is.
Sopranos, bro. What's wrong with you?
Oh, all right. I've never really got into The Sopranos.
You never got into the best show ever?
I've maybe watched an episode here or there.
It sucks. No, it's Juggasanti. It's a very dumb name.
Okay, so at Juggasanti on Instagram, if this inspired you in any way, hit up Chris, boost his ego,
Absolutely.
as we just spoke about. Anywhere else that people should get in touch with you, or
That's
they
really
could
it.
find you?
No, I don't really. I don't have a TikTok. I don't really do any of that shit.
Cool. Just
yeah.
at Juggasanti on Instagram. This has been awesome. If you guys liked it, leave us a comment wherever you're listening, a review, 5-star review, all that good stuff. And appreciate it, man. Great to catch up with you.
You too, man. I hope this didn't suck, and thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all for this episode of Battle Line Podcast. But we're always posting new content on social media. Follow us on Instagram at Battle Line Podcast and on Twitter at Battle Line Pod. That's an order. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes up every Tuesday. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. Believe in yourself. Face all challenges head on. And as always, never quit.